life. It's great to see you here this morning. Have I told you lately that I love you? To quote Rod Stewart this morning, I just want to thank this amazing, over-the-top, the world's greatest worship team right here, who have done extensive rehearsals and now not completed yet, but going to complete 3 services this morning. So thankful for you. Excellent job. Be seated in his presence, everyone. It is great to see you here today. You are to be commended for coming out in a pandemic and being here to honor the Lord. We love you. We love having you here. So excited to come and share with you today from the Word of God. And I hope you're excited about that as well. I think a couple people down here seem like they are anyway. I don't know. We have been praying for you, New Life. I'm telling you. We have been praying for you, and especially on Mondays. There's a number of people that are part of this church community. We've been praying on Mondays, praying for revival. You know, the revival starts right here. It starts within me. It starts within you. It's not out there somewhere. It's right here. And we've been praying that God would touch hearts and touch lives, and we have seen that happening. Even during quarantine, we've seen people's lives changed. But I will tell you, we're still praying. I want to see lives changed in our nation. And the conversation I hear a lot, I'm just going to tell you, is a lot more political than it is spiritual. And I'm not saying that's bad in the year of an election. But I am praying that God would bring revival in our nation as never before. I'm praying, I'm expecting, I'm believing. You know, I was thinking about 9/11 this week because it's kind of the only other historical marker I've lived through. And I was actually in ministry at 9/11, 19 years ago. That dates me a little bit. I've been around in this ministry for a while. And I remember on 9/11, you know, there was a call to prayer. I mean, it was something you saw on television, people praying together. I know that people don't get together as much in this climate, but people were getting together and praying. The church I was serving, and we had to add services because there was such a call back to God. And I think when people are kind of at the end of themselves, when they're wondering what the future is and they're feeling insecure about that, they need and are more cognizant of their need for God, I think. And at 9/11, I will never forget this, and this was shortly afterward, but both houses of Congress, if you can imagine, Republicans, Democrats, and everything in between stood on the steps of the Capitol building and sang, "God Bless America." If you can imagine that. And just praying that we would see just a movement of God and that people would be open to the things of God. And let's pray for that. That's a call to prayer today for us, that we would continue to pray for that, because I see people living in distress right now. And as a pastor, I see it all the time, every day. People that are stressed out and wondering what the future is, and maybe today you're feeling strong, but I think a lot of people are feeling weak right now. And for today, I want to just put a lot of the other debates aside. I want to put the debate over masks or no masks aside. I don't know why that should be a debate, but I want to put that aside. I want to put the politics aside. And I know it's all important. I want to put the racial unrest. We have a roundtable happening in this room in 2 days for our community. But for the moment right now, I want to put that aside. And I just want to bring you back to something that is supremely important, something that is foundational. And I want us to focus just on this today, because I really believe that this, as followers of Christ, what we really should be focusing on for the most part. I'm going to start with a question today. You ready for it? This question determines an awful lot. This is the most profound question you will ever answer. And every person who lives on the face of this earth has to answer this question. Here it is. Let me pull that up. Who is God? That's foundational. But we all have to answer that question. I mean, who is God to you? How you answer that question determines an awful lot about your life and your eternity. Let me ask you a more specific question. Here it is. Who is Jesus? Who is Jesus in your life, in your mind? I mean, you're out here worshiping, so you obviously, many people that are here anyway, have a relationship with Jesus, but I want you to plumb the depths of this question today. Who really is Jesus? Because I think sometimes we forget who we're dealing with here when we're dealing with Jesus. And especially at a time like this, when things seem unsure, we need to come back to the one sure thing, the one who never changes. Who is Jesus? Is he nice? Is he angry? Is he powerful? Is he powerful enough to deal with what you're dealing with? Is he weak? Some people may see him that way. Is he personal? Is he distant? Is he out there somewhere? Is he someone you can know? Jesus said to his disciples, who do you, circle that word you and think about it, who do you say that I am? Really, who do you say? Because how you answer that question, I'm going to tell you, defines you. It defines you now, and it defines you for all of eternity, who you say that he is. Who is Jesus? And A.W. Tozer said this, what comes into our minds when we think about God is the most important thing about us. Because it sets the trajectory for everything else in our lives. It will determine how we respond when the wheels come off and the roof falls in. Who we see Jesus as being is going to determine an awful lot about how we respond. It's going to determine our morality. It's going to determine our values. It's going to determine our worldview, if that's what you want to call it. It's going to determine a lot about our relationships. How we relate to Jesus is going to define a lot about our other relationships. How we love. Who do you say that Jesus is? Who is Jesus? Is he a cosmic killjoy who's ready to look at all the things you're doing wrong? Like sinner in the hands of an angry God? I mean, if you see God that way, you're probably going to live a pretty legalistic life. Is he just someone who exists to make your life better and make your life easier? Is he like your heavenly life coach, which I guess he is. There was a book, Jesus Life Coach, wasn't there? I mean, but if that's the only way you see him, you're going to probably live a pretty self-centered life. I mean, who is Jesus? If you went to the theologians and you said, who is God? They would give you the omnis. You know what I mean by the omnis? They would say, and this is true, they would say that he is omnipresent, that he is everywhere at once, which I cannot even comprehend what that would be like, that there is a being who could be everywhere in the universe at one time. But that's what a theologian would say. He's omnipresent. He's not confined to space like you and I are. He's something above us, different than us. We can't totally understand what that even means. He's omnipresent, but he's also omnipotent, which means that he's all-powerful. He's created all things, sustained all things. All things are held together in him, and nothing can stop the Lord God Almighty. We sing that song on Sunday morning. He's omnipotent. He's also omniscient. He knows everything. He knows your greatest longings in life. He knows more about you than you know about yourself. He is omniscient. If you can't even imagine what that is even like, but he's the omnis. But when God himself was asked who he is, he gave a much different answer. Those things are all true, by the way. But he gave a much different answer, and that's what I want to look at today. Who does God say that he is? Because we come back to that truth, we will find hope. We'll find surety. We'll find our future in that truth, all right? So I want to go back 1,300 years before the time of Jesus. Think about this. To a place called Mount Horeb, and there's a guy named Moses. You probably heard of him. He actually was living out in the desert for decades, hiding out. And finally, God gets a hold of his life, and God appears to him in a burning bush. Maybe you saw that in a Cecil B. DeMille movie somewhere. I don't know. And God says to Moses, listen, Moses, take off your shoes. You're standing here on holy ground, all right? And as Moses stood there, it says this in Exodus, the 3rd chapter, and we're going to bring this up on the screen, and you can find this in your Bible. Verse 13, it says this, Moses said to God, suppose I go to the Israelites, those are God's people, and I say to them, the God of your fathers has sent me to you. And they ask me, what is his name? Then what shall I tell them? Now, I want you to know in the ancient Near East, when someone says, what is your name? It meant more than just your title. What he's really saying here is, what is the meaning of your name, God? Who really are you? I mean, who shall I tell them you are? Can you let me in on that? Can you show me who you are so I can tell your people? And God said to Moses, I am who I am. This is what you are to say to the Israelites, Moses. I am. Can you say that? Say it one more time. You came all the way out here. Say it again. Come on. I am has sent me to you. You probably heard that before. I am. Now, In the ancient Hebrew language, I am was 4 consonants with no vowels. And most theologians believe it was pronounced Yahweh. And it was a name that the Hebrew people wouldn't even say. Eventually, they used the word Adonai. They inserted some vowels and used Adonai. But it was the covenantal name of God. It's called the Tetragrammaton. Take that and Google it this afternoon, which I know you will do. Tetragrammaton, it's the Old Testament name for God. It's who he was. I am. So I want you to think about that. I am. That's a complete sentence, by the way. And if you remember your 6th grade English, you remember that you remember I? It's a personal pronoun, right? And what that means is that God is a person. He's not the force like on Star Wars. He's a person. He is singular. It's a singular pronoun. There's no one like him. There's no parallel to him. There's no rival for him. He is God, the one and the only. And the interesting thing is he's personal, and he's talking to Moses, which must mean that he is relatable. We can have a relationship with him. He's I am. If you remember 6th grade English, am is a present tense form of be. You remember that? I don't know. That's what it is. And what that means is that God exists in the now. He didn't say, I am who I was. I am who I'm going to be. I am who I am. And what that shows us is that God is not only not confined to space, but he's not confined to time. Because everything for God is now. The past is now, the future is now. He's not confined. If we can even fathom what this looks like, that there is a being who is not confined to our limitation of time. He's already in the future. He sees past, present, and future. He is the great I am. And you know what? He exists in every time period simultaneously. If you can begin to get your mind around that. But what that means in your life here in 2020, what it means is that he holds your future in his hands. He holds your future. He knows your longings. He knows what you're looking forward to. He knows what you're afraid of. And he has his destiny, your destiny, in his hands. No one else controls my destiny. Jesus Christ controls my destiny. Thank you very much. That's who he is. He is the great I am. I am. So I want to plumb the depths of that today because there's power in this. I want you to fast forward now 1,300 years. Jesus, all right? And he is in John, the 8th chapter, doing what Jesus did quite a bit. He's debating the religious leaders of his day. They tried to debate the King of Kings. Nobody's going to be able to debate the King of Kings, but they did it. And Jesus said in John 8, he said something like this: anyone who lives and obeys my word will never die. That to them was very controversial. Anyone who lives and obeys my word is never going to die. And they didn't know what to say to it. You know what they said to Jesus? They just started shouting at him, you're a Samaritan and you're demon possessed. That's what they said to him. I mean, it's like a racial slur. You're a Samaritan and you're demon possessed. They just didn't know how else to argue it, right? Because they said, we're the children of Abraham. We're God's people, Jesus. Don't you see that? And Abraham, our father, he died. What makes you think you're better than Abraham, Jesus? And here's what Jesus says in verse 58 of John 8. He says, very truly I tell you. In other words, guys, listen, because this is the truth right here. Jesus answered, before Abraham was born, I am. Can you say I am one more time? Say it. Come on, now say it. They did not know how to respond to this because they knew exactly what he was talking about. And what he was saying, you remember that God that spoke from the burning bush to Moses, your ancestor? That was me. I'm that same God. Before Abraham was even born, I am. Are you beginning to get a glimpse of who Jesus really is right here? God in the flesh came down from heaven, took on flesh, made his dwelling place among us, John, the 1st chapter tells us. He is God. He is God in the flesh. I'm the same God that you see in the Old Testament. You know, maybe today, you just don't have a full answer for that question, who is Jesus? I want us to really look at that question today. Who is Jesus? Maybe today you came and if you're like some people right now, you're unsure. Maybe you're going through a crisis. Maybe you're looking for a breakthrough. And I'm trying to tell you today that maybe you don't completely see who Jesus is. And you're out here to find out, I hope. because we're going to hear what he has to say. He says, I am. I am. I'm not who you want me to be. I define myself. I'm not who the History Channel tells you I should be. I'm not who the networks tell you I should be. I'm the eternal God who is from everlasting to everlasting, the Alpha, the Omega, the beginning, the end, the one who was, the one who is, the one who changes not. I'm the Lord, I changeth not. I spoke in the Old Testament, but I put on flesh and I became a man. Do you really know him today in that way? Do you really know him? The only way to really know him is to really connect with him, to really hear from him. Now, here's what I mean by that. I'm on social media, and people send me a friend request, right? Sometimes you get a friend request, you have no idea who these people are. I don't know if you ever have that happen. Sometimes they're trying to sell you something or get you into some ministry thing that they're going to send you all the time. So I get a friend request from Ben Jones. And I'm thinking, do I know Ben Jones? Is he on our church? No, he's not on the church roster anywhere. Sometimes when people are new to the church, they'll friend me, and that's a good way to get to know people. I'm thinking maybe he's new to New Life. Well, do I know this guy from elementary school? Did I go to college with him? What? Ben Jones. Do we know anybody named Ben Jones? So how do you find out who he is? You have to get on his page and creep on him a little bit, right? That's the way it works. So I get on there, I find this Ben Jones, I click on his picture. I go and I found out all about Ben Jones. I'm thinking, what connected him to me? We had 2 mutual friends. I found out that his wife's name is Amy, and I'm thinking, Ben and Amy Jones. But they live in St. Louis, Missouri. I don't know anyone that lives in St. Louis, Missouri. But maybe Ben Jones lived here at one time. Maybe he listened to the podcast. Maybe he came to New Life once. I don't know what. How would I found out that he has 2 children, and they had their names on there. And there's 3 grandkids, and he has a German Shepherd. And they go to Myrtle Beach most of the time on vacation. I'm finding all things out about Ben Jones. I could walk up to Ben Jones' door because I have his address. I could knock on his door and I could say, Ben, how's Amy doing? And the kids, did you go to Myrtle Beach this year? I could have this conversation with him, but the truth is I don't really know Ben Jones. And by the way, I did not accept his friend request. So Ben, if you're listening, I don't know, give me a call or something. We will accept it. See, I really don't know him. And if I'm going to get to know him, the only way to do that would be to sit down with Ben and have a conversation and really have him tell me about himself. So today, I want to put all these other distractions aside, and I just want to focus on what Jesus is saying to you and me about himself. Because I'm not sure we realize the magnitude of Jesus. I'm not sure that we totally realize the magnitude of the power of Jesus, the magnitude of the love of Jesus, the magnitude of the mercy of Jesus. And I want you to see that today. He said, I am. Before Abraham was, I am. You know, that seems kind of incomplete, I am. I need a little bit more than that, Jesus. I need you to tell me. You said, I am. I am what? I am who? Can you fill in the blank here, please? It doesn't seem to be, for me personally, I need a little more description, a little more detail. And I want you to see that Jesus goes through the New Testament filling in that detail for us. Over and over and over and over again. And especially in the Gospel of John. So I want us to listen to what he says about himself. I am. All right? I'm going to take you on a whirlwind tour here, so get ready, because here it comes. We're going to start in John 6 and verse 35, and it says this. Then Jesus declared, he declares this, I am. Can you say I am? I am the bread of life. And whoever comes to me will never go hungry, and whoever believes in me will never be thirsty. Now, that's a surprise to me because I feel hungry 24 hours a day. I'm hungry all the time. But he's talking about a hunger that is so much more important than just my physical hunger. He's talking about the longing of my heart. He's talking about a hunger that we have spiritually within us. He says, I'm going to fill that place that no one else can fill. You're never going to have to go hungry again when I'm filling you. I'm the bread of life. You know, when he says I'm the bread of life, these Jewish people that were listening to him knew exactly what he was talking about. He was talking about manna in the desert. You remember manna in the desert, the bread of life that came down from heaven? Okay, that doesn't make sense, Jesus. You're the bread of life? Okay. You go back to Exodus 16 this afternoon. You can read all about it, which I'm sure you'll do. But the word manna actually means literally, what is it? It's a question. What is it? I mean, it was God's provision from heaven that God sent down to these people who were basically starving to death in the wilderness, and God sends down frosted flakes from heaven, basically, for these people to survive. It's manna from heaven. And when Jesus says, I'm the bread of life, that's right where they went. I'm the bread of life. Listen, God's supernatural provision for his people. And that's who Jesus is. The bread of life who came down from heaven, the sacrifice that God provided for us. He says, I am the bread of life. And listen, there's no one else that can fill you the way I can fill you. There's no one else that can love you the way that I can love you. There's no one else that can sustain you like I can sustain you. I'm the bread of life, and whoever comes to me, you're never going to go hungry because I'm going to fill you in a way that no one else can fill you. Maybe you feel empty today. I don't know. And maybe you've been a Christian for a while, but you're just feeling empty. Or maybe today you have a crisis, or there's something that's so big you can't even get your head or your arms around it. I want to tell you today, the bread of life is saying to you, I'll fill you in a way that no one else can fill you. Here's where that brings us today. Listen, make a decision to live under the providential hand of Jesus Christ. Make a decision to live under the providential hand of Jesus Christ, the one who provides our every need. God, I'm going to do what I can do, and I'm going to trust you to do the rest. I'm going to trust you to fill me the way that you said that you would. I came here today to tell you that Jesus is the bread of life, the bread of life. And even if today you feel like you're at the end of yourself, I'm going to tell you your problems do not have the final say. I speak that from experience. Your problems do not have the final say. The coronavirus does not have the final say. The media does not have the final say. The grave does not have the final say. Death did not have the final say. Jesus Christ has the final say in my life and in your life. And he says, I am the bread of life. I will tell you today, I longed for so many years for something to fill me, to fill that longing in my soul. I tried to fill it every which way. And when I found Jesus, it filled a place in me that I could not fill any other way. He really is the bread of life. He said, I'm the bread of life. Here's another thing he said in John 8:12. He said this. When Jesus spoke again to the people, he said, I am, can you say I am? The light of the world. And whoever follows me will never walk in darkness. You can circle that word never in your Bible. Never, never, never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. And what he's saying here is this: I'm the exclusive source of spiritual light for your life. You're not going to find it anywhere else. You can look for it in other places, but it's me. I am the light of the world, and I will illuminate your life. I will illuminate your life. I don't know if you found yourself in a dark street, in a dark place in life. Jesus says, when you're in that dark place, just keep following my light. Just keep following my light. You know why? Because that's where we find hope. We continue to follow the light of Jesus. I will follow the light of Christ. He lights my world. He is the light of the world. I'll tell you what happened to me here a few weeks ago. We were looking at a place for ministry, and I actually went into a building. I went there to look at it. The property manager was going to meet me there. This building was probably almost as big as this building we're sitting in right now, and it had a bunch of rooms in it. And I was sitting out in the parking lot waiting to go in, and this I'm thinking, he's not showing up. It's almost dark. And I finally called him on his cell phone. He said, just go on in, man. He said, it's unlocked. I'll come back later and lock it up. Just make yourself at home. You know, check it out, walk through it, you know, whatever. Okay. Oh, by the way, I didn't get the power turned on for you. Now, the only window in this place is the front door. And I happen to have a flashlight in my car and my cell phone. And I go in this place. I'm thinking, I'm a pastor. I'm a grown man here. I can handle this. I can walk through a dark building, right? I go in. I'm telling you, two thoughts came to mind. Number one, I feel like I'm in Chernobyl here. It's like everybody's gone. Secondly was, this is not in my job description. Way outside my comfort zone. And these people at the church better appreciate this, because this is not, I'm going over and above the call of duty. I go in there with my flashlight, and I will confess to you, I'm singing as I'm going through. I mean, it was something out of a television show, and I'm looking in these totally dark bathrooms, and there's debris on the floor, and I'm looking around in there, and it's like, I'm waiting for somebody to jump out, and I'm singing, what a friend we have in Jesus, I can get through this, and lo and behold, I finally did do like the quick walkthrough, try to get in and out as quickly as I possibly could. Was never so happy to get back to my car, and called my wife and said, I made it. I'm still living. You need a light. You need a light. When you're in the darkness, you need a light. Why? Because you need hope. And he says, I am the light of the world. But the question really is this: is he the light of your world? Really? Is he really the one who lights your world? Is he a God that is out there somewhere, or is he your God? He says, I'm the light of the world. Here's another one. In John 10:11, he says this: I am the good shepherd, and the good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. He's not just a shepherd, he's the good shepherd. He says that twice. There's no other good shepherd. I am the good shepherd. I love that metaphor, because sheep, if we're the sheep, sheep live lives that lead to destruction. They don't know any better. It's just what they do. They get themselves into a lot of trouble and a lot of danger. We don't have a lot of sheep around here, but we have some cattle, right? And this past week, some cattle got loose again out behind the church. And they didn't know what to do with the cattle. They had a cow and a calf out here running around behind the church. What do you do? They're Amish, so you can't call anyone, right? So what did they do? They called Pastor Greg, because he lives close to the church. Greg comes down. I wasn't here, but somehow Greg was able to corral those cows, call them, or I don't know what he did. But he was skilled enough to be a shepherd to those cattle and get them back over by the Amish house and get them back in the fence. He did it. He made it. See, we all need a shepherd. Every single one of us, because we all, like sheep, have gone astray. And God has laid on him the iniquity of us all. He's the shepherd who lays down his life for me. He's the good shepherd. You know what happens with a sheep? Many times a sheep will get off balance. You know what I'm saying? You knock a sheep over. Don't do this because it'd be cruel. But if you knock the sheep over, that sheep probably is not going to be able to get back up on its own. And it's going to be vulnerable. It's going to be vulnerable to the carnivores that are going to come along after it. And we can be that same way. We can get very much off balance, and especially in a world like we're living in today. We're living in a world of turbulence right now. And it can really get us off balance. We're living in a world of disruption. We're living in a world of intimidation, of terrorism. And you know what I've noticed? Peace is not profitable. Good news is not profitable. There was a TV show on, it was called Some Good News. I don't know if you ever watched that, but you ought to watch it. It's just the good news. But it doesn't sell. You know what I'm saying? People are paid to create turmoil. And it puts us off balance. And sometimes it can enrage us. And maybe this morning you were watching network news somewhere, and maybe you need to come and regain your balance a little bit. Because these people that create argument online or on television or wherever, I'm telling you, they make a lot of money for doing that, and they all go have lunch together. And we're left off balance because of it. We need a shepherd. We need a sure thing. We need a firm foundation. We need someone who never changes, someone who help us regain our balance. And Jesus says, I am that good shepherd for you. I'm the good shepherd. Here's what else he says in John 11:25. He says this: I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live even though they die. This happened just prior, he said this just prior to raising Lazarus from the dead, the most amazing public demonstration of the power of Jesus in his ministry when he calls this dead man out of the grave. He says, I am the resurrection. You know what a resurrection is? It's when someone or something dies and it comes back to life. That's the resurrection. There's going to come a day when Jesus is going to resurrect his people from the dead. Think of that. With a shout, he's going to raise his people from the dead. He says, listen, this is what I do. It's not just what I do, it's who I am. I am the resurrection. Quit thinking that the resurrection is an event, because Jesus says, I am the resurrection. It's not just what I do, but it's who I am. And you go through the Bible, he resurrects people from the dead all over the place. He resurrected my life from the dead. I mean, Jesus will resurrect your dead hope. Jesus will resurrect your dead relationships. Jesus will resurrect your dead dreams, because it's not just what he does, it's who he is. I am the resurrection. Let me give you another I am, and I'm going to invite the worship team to come back. And Jesus answers this in John 14:6. He says, I am the way and the truth and the life, and no one comes to the Father except through me. He didn't say, I am a way. He didn't say, I am a truth. He didn't say, I am a life. He said, I am the way, the truth, the life. There's no one like him. There's no rival to him. You're not going to get there by being in church, although I'm glad you're here today. You're not going to get there by being good, although I hope you are good. You're not going to get there from going through the rituals. He says, I'm the way. I'm the way. I am the way, I'm the truth. In a world where we're looking for truth, in a world where we're not sure what the truth is, he said, I am the truth. I'm the foundational truth. I'm the truth that you can count on. I'm the truth, and I will always be the truth. If you're looking for the truth, look no further. Just look to me, because I am the truth. I'm the way, I'm the truth, and I am the life. If you're looking for the life that you desire, it comes in him. I'm the life. He said, I have come that you may have life, and you may have life abundantly. It does not necessarily mean that God's going to make you rich, by the way, but you're going to have an abundant life in him, because he's the way, the truth, and the life. And here's what else he says in John 15:5. He says this, I am the vine, and you are the branches. I want you to think about that imagery for just a moment, that he's the vine and you're the branch. And you draw from him your strength. You draw from him your sustenance. Without him, you can't survive, because he's the vine, you're the branches. And he said, if you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. But apart from me, you can do nothing. You got to remain in him. Remain. It's not good enough just to come for an hour on Sunday. It's not a one and done. It's an all the time thing. You got to remain. One translation says you got to abide in me. And if you abide in me and I abide in you, all things are possible. But without me, really, you can really do nothing. If you abide in me, you're going to bear much fruit. I eat fruit all the time, constantly. My freezer at home is filled with fruit. And what I found is that fruit is never for the tree. It's always for someone else. It's God's will that you bear much fruit, but it's not so you can gain sustenance from it. It's so that you can give that fruit to someone else to nourish them, that they will see something in you, because you know Jesus says they're not going to see any other way. Fruit. I had a seminary professor that said when Jesus talks about fruit, he's not talking about the size of your church. He's not talking about your Sunday school class. He's talking about issues of character. Fruit. You think about the fruits of the Spirit: kindness and gentleness and patience and long-suffering. He says, if you abide in me, you're going to have those things. You're going to bear much fruit. Fruit. Issues of character. You know, I want you to know today that God is much more concerned about my character than my comfort. I think we many times think that God is all concerned about our comfort, and He is the comforter. But I believe He is much more concerned about us bearing much fruit, about our character more than our comfort, that people are going to see something in me and see something in you that's going to show them what Jesus is really like. He said, if you abide in me and I abide in you, you're going to bear much fruit. I really want that for my life, but we have to remain in Him. Even in the tough times, even in the dark times, because apart from Him, I'm nothing. I can do nothing without the great I am. So who do you say today that Jesus is? I mean, who is Jesus in your life? In 2020, right now, in this moment, who is Jesus? Because it's one thing to hear stories from thousands of years ago, but it's another thing to apply it to my life in the right here and right now in my situation. You ask the question today, what is really true? And Jesus says, I am. You wanna know what's true? I am. Who's gonna be with me? And He says, I am. Well, who's gonna sustain me? I am. I need someone to protect me because I don't know if I can go forward. I am. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be with you every minute, every day, every stage of life from now to the end of the age. But no one's listening to me. And God says, I am. I'm listening. I will always be listening. I will never turn a deaf ear to you. But no one is here with me. Maybe you're lonely. And God says, I am. I'm the one who'll never leave you and never forsake you. I will be with you. I've had people say to me recently, I'm not even sure why I'm alive. And God says, I am, because I have a purpose for your life. I have a direction for your life. I'm pouring into others. Who's gonna pour into me? And God says, I am. I pour myself out for you. Who's gonna be on my team? God says, I am. Listen, who is Jesus to you today? Who is Jesus? Is He the light of your world? Is He the light that you are following? Is He for you today the way, the truth, and the life? Is He for you today the resurrection and the life? Is He for you the true vine that you draw your strength from? Is He the bread of life who fills you like no one else can? Is He the good shepherd that protects you and guides you and directs you? You know what? Today, we stand in awe of Jesus because we are His people. We are the sheep of His pasture. You know, He stands above it all. He holds the world in His hands. All things were created by Him and for Him. And in our weakness, His strength is made perfect. That's who He is. There is no higher name. There is no name like the name of Jesus. There is no one greater than the Jesus who said before Abraham was, everybody, I am, I am, I am. We're gonna worship Him. Would you give Jesus a praise offering right now?